All right, this is going to be a weekly recap from the 28th of February to the 4th of March, and I had a total of 12 trades, 6 green trades, 50% winning percentage. Actually better than what I thought. 63% of my trades were according to my dollar risk level, although I feel like I've been trading just way too small recently, just really small size, and it just kind of it's obviously not worth it to have 12 trades and only make $10.95, even though I traded just $1,800 a dollar volume. I like to think that, the learning experience is worth much more than that 10.95. But at this point where I am, I honestly feel like I could maybe possibly even try to go back to the way I was in July and trade much larger position sizes and, not be afraid to take a loss, especially since I'm so early in the trading journey in terms of how much I'm trading anyway. It doesn't really matter how much I make or lose. It's about learning the process, and there's definitely a lot of things I could have done better with my trading, but I feel like I haven't really been trading enough size, and that's something I do want to work on. And yeah, this is going to be the weekly recap, and I'm going to go over the trades. I had 12 trades again, just slightly better average dollar gain compared to my average dollar loss. The percent differences, they might not matter at this point anymore as long as I trade accordingly in terms of maybe, I cut losses quickly and maybe it's a 5% loss or something like that, which isn't ideal. But, if I stuck to my 5, 10, 15, $20 risk level, then I don't think that's a big deal anymore. It really depends on the type of stock that it is and where I'm risking, but I definitely feel like I should be trading a lot larger, and that was about 0.5% of what I traded in dollar volume. Um, I didn't do anything too bad like I did the last few weeks, but I totally feel like I can do a lot better, and I hope I can show that. Especially now that there have been a lot more, to me, better setups, a lot of uptrending stocks. So yeah, let's just go ahead and start to go over all of the trades one by one, and it's gonna be a while, but it looks like I did focus on what I like trading most, which is morning panic bounce plays. Let's look at INTK for the 28th, and this is a morning panic bounce play. 28th is right here. Not a bad day for a morning panic bounce play. Nice big red candle. Definitely not a stock at its lows, or at least recently it looks pretty nice. Let's look at INTK for the 28th, which would be right here. Guess we'll zoom in a bit more. And I was in at 9:36 a.m. 376. So 9:36 was right here, and then I was in at 376. So you can see this one clearly didn't work out, a downtrend here, but I saw the drop. It's starting to look like it's going to bounce, and I got in right here at this 37-ish level, 376 I believe. I got out 9:37 the next minute, 372. 9:37 was right here, 372. So basically, I got out because this is a day low, 372, and at 9:37, it went to the day low, which is my risk level. And when it comes to morning panic bounce plays, when I risk the day low, I always try to get out before it breaks the day low. If it looks like it's going to break the day low, even if it doesn't and it uptrends, I'll just play it safe to avoid something like this where it drops to 34 or 35, and you're chasing a falling knife. You're trying to sell your shares into a panic, which isn't ideal. So this one was well executed for what it was. It just didn't work out there, and I lost just $2, just 1%. Didn't trade according to my dollar risk level. In this case, I should have actually been sized 3 times as much, even though that would have meant a larger loss. It looks like I did trade this one profitably, and then that would have made it up, I think. Let me see. Right, 15,000 shares. That will be a $10 risk level. And then this one will be 10,000 shares. Yeah, I would have slightly been profitable out of those two. But that's what I need to do. I've been trading little baby $5. It doesn't, wow, that's actually not a single trade I had this whole week was a $10 risk level, which is my minimum. I need to size up. I need to definitely size up. Wow, I didn't think it was that bad. Jeez. Yeah, I mean, some of these it says that, I trade according to my dollar risk level because that's I was, I was trading a very small $5 risk level, but at least with the stats that I have, if I had to zero to everything, it wouldn't be too bad. But yeah, that's wow. Okay, this is why, we go over our trades. I didn't think it was that small, but all right. At least this is the same setup INTK. Even though this one didn't work out and it eventually did have a turnaround, as you can see here. It's something I can easily trade with 10 times as many shares. So that's one good thing. But yeah, that was a trade there with INTK. It didn't work out here, but I did try again. That's something I learned from the other week. A lot of these setups, I in that other week would get in and it doesn't work, but it eventually does at a lower level. So I've learned to have like that ability to just keep going as long as the pattern is still in place. Let's look at the second attempt with INTK, and I was in at 940, 356. So 940 was right here, 356. So a pretty good entry right here. Again, it broke this day low right here, had a panic, and I'm in right here at 356. That's actually a pretty good entry, and this one didn't really work out either. It did uptrend, right? But it never did anything, significantly better in terms of that. And this pink line right here is VWAP. I'm not sure why there's these two other ones, but I'll have that removed next time. But this is the VWAP line right there. That's my goal to sell into a lot of times, and I was completely out of the setup at 943, 364. So 943 right here is when I got out, and my exit average was 364. So not bad for something that didn't work out, and it would have been very hard to lose money with my entry being where it was. If anything, maybe slightly down if I were to have sold at the bottom here, or maybe break even. But yeah, it didn't work out there, but I still ended up being profitable. And I remember I just did not get failed in this ultimate turnaround right here. I tried, but I didn't get failed. That's just unfortunate, but at least I did try. If I hesitated and missed the ultimate turnaround right here, that would have stunk. But yeah, 32 to 36, and it did get to VWAP. That's a pretty good move in terms of percentage, and that's something I can be a part of. Let's look at TGGI for the 28th, another morning panic bounce play. That's been the thing recently. A lot of these OTCs have been trying to uptrend, right, and offer more opportunity, which has been super ideal. Not the best red daily chart, but let's just see how it looked at the day. This was it. Clearly does not have good volume, so I'm going to be more interested in getting out sooner than a normal setup. And I was in at 945, 177 right here. 177 was my entry, so I probably had like a trend line right here and it broke it immediately, and then that's when I got in at this 177 level at 945. As you can see, it did get to 19, but the volume is just not there. If it had more volume, I would have been totally more interested in holding this one, and I think that was the case. Doesn't mean I should have gotten out 15 seconds later, but I got out the same minute at 181. Might have been right here actually. Maybe I recorded when I placed my order, but not when I got failed, because 181 was never here at 945. So I'm gonna guess I got out right here. It did get to VWAP at 183, but considering how low the volume is, if it has a quick spike, towards VWAP, maybe not exactly there with this low amount of volume, I don't mind my sell there. I mean, it could have had that same low volume price action and, break the day low, and then that would have been pretty bad. So not horrible there. I just feel like I'm not trading enough, even on a low volume setup like that one. Let's look at INTK for the 28th. And this is a morning panic bounce play double bottom that didn't work out. So let's go back to INTK. This was all the same day on the 28th. This will highlight the entire day. And I was in at 948, 36 flat. So 948 was right here. Let me zoom in a bit more. 948 was my entry here at 36. So right here was my entry. Here in theory is a morning panic bounce play. You know, right here, not the ultimate one. This one was the ultimate one, but I thought, okay, maybe this was it. Has a bounce, and then it gets back near the bottom. I guess it's not a double bottom. This is more like a higher low. Because if it was a double bottom, this section would have dropped towards the day low, but this one dropped and was, you know, here higher than this level. Very easy setup in that you just risk the day low, and ideally, you know, in this case, a higher low, and it keeps making higher lows, which, as you can tell, it didn't work out because it wasn't the ultimate bottom. It had this downtrend afterwards that then, you know, was the ultimate bottom. And I was out 951 at 345. 951 right here, 345. Right here was my exit. Yeah, so it broke the day low 35, which is probably my risk level. And I guess in this case, I wasn't able to get out at 35 before it broke, but I was able to get out at 345 and obviously save myself from this continued downtrend. But I did trade, you know, a very small position size, so it was probably really speculative, which I don't mind too much, and that's why I had that bad percent gain, not percent gain, but percent loss, but barely lost anything. So at least I have my risk level calculated, I guess, even though that was a small trade. Let's look at ILUS for the 1st of March, and this was a dip under VWAP consolidation. Let's look at ILUS for the 1st of March. Right here is the 1st of March. Yeah, this one's starting to turn around, so I can offer morning panic bounce plays. In fact, out of curiosity, there was one right here, but this one was a bit in the middle of the day. There's been a lot of middle of the day panics. Here was another one actually, but let's look at the first. And this was like before we started to see these OTCs start to offer a lot of nice moves, especially with Dpolis. Let's look. My entry was 1006 at 17.6. So 1006, I guess I need to zoom back a little more. Right here. Alright, that's weird. I don't know why it doesn't go all the way back, but 1006 was right around here. 1006 right here at 17.6. So yeah, that was my entry right here. So the idea was that it had a nice run up, you know, went back and forth a little, broke under VWAP, the pink line here, and it looks like it's trying to, you know, maybe make a potential first higher low, and then it uptrends and makes another higher low. This one didn't really work out. As you can see, it made an uptrend, but just a baby one. It didn't like keep going or retest the highs or anything like that. It just kind of uptrended a little, and then it came back under VWAP again, the same level here, and then it made a nice move, as you can see, from 17.2 to 18.5, but we didn't get that, at least when I was in it, right here at 17.6, and I got out at 10.08, which was, I guess, a minute later and a half at 17.65. So a small difference and small size too. I guess it was a speculative setup, but yeah, I need to stick to that rule and at least trade a $10 risk level because this is just too small. It just seems crazy to go through all of this trading and, you know, practice for $10, which I mean, I guess is fine because at least if I'm not, you know, a winning trader and I'm constantly losing money, that's how you want to do it. But I feel like at this point I can size up. I was out 17.65 at 10.08. So 10.08 was right here. 17.65 was my exit right here. And 10.08, just barely higher than my entry. It never broke the risk level, which would have been the 17.2 level, but it didn't obviously uptrend here. You know, it downtrended again. Played off the level and then made the move. It just didn't work out when I was in. That's what seems to be the case. And yeah, that's really about it for that one. That one was basically a scratch. Let's look at Mtrt. This one really screwed me because this one actually traded closer, I guess, to my dollar risk level, and none of these worked out. But this one is a very crazy stock. I'm probably going to stay away from stocks like this that have a very high spread and are also higher priced OTC stocks. But let's look at Mtrt on the second. Nice run up, but I just hate the way this one trades. The second was this big crazy day. As you can see now, let me zoom in a bit more. But this freaking stock, went. Can I zoom in even more? This one went all the way from $6 to $4.70, and then it finished at $8 with, very little volume. Very, 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 very sketchy stock. But actually, that makes it look all ugly. Let's leave it like that. I was in, and this was a morning panic bounce play. I tried 2 times. It didn't work out either time. 940, I was in at 515, and this one was not good because I saw this downtrend, right, and then I saw the level 2 drop. I was in at right here 515, and I saw the level 2 drop, and I thought, okay, it just dropped. Now I can get in, risk off $5, play off of $5. In theory, maybe I'm in at 515. It just dropped even more. Look at the volume. This could be the panic bottom. And, worst case scenario, if it drops to $5, I should be able to get out at $5. And, there's going to be a cushion there. It's not just going to fall all the way to, 480 or something crazy like that. It's going to try to hold itself at 5, at least in theory, because it's a nice round number. But when it dropped to this range right here, I probably should have waited and gave it more time to see if it's actually going to bottom and play off of that level. Even if I get in at a slight uptrend, at least I'm not just gonna completely take the full risk that I took here, and it didn't work out. And it's also kind of hard to show now, especially on this chart, but I had a downtrending trend line. I don't know if I even have it saved in my recent, so it's not, but essentially this thing, I could have drawn a trend line, a downtrending trend line, and it was still under that trend line, so I shouldn't have even been in that setup in the first place. I should have completely have avoided that one, but that was the case there. And I got out at 941 at 499 right here. And this thing just trades with a big spread. It did, hold around that $5 level. It didn't immediately break under like I thought, but I was just too early. Just to summarize, it's just way too early. Good lesson there, but I should have done that one better. And I did trade smaller size, I think, right? No, actually the same size. I traded one more time. The same setup, morning panic bounce play. I was in at 9:43 a.m., $5. So 9:43 was right here, and I was in at $5. So right about here, I'm thinking this could be it, because at least now at this point it's consolidated for 2 minutes, trying to maybe play off of that $5 level, but this one didn't work out. This one had a completely BS manipulation level 2 turnaround, and that was really gross and manipulative, but that's fine. I got out at 946, 480. This one was my worst trade right here, and I got out at 480. I was trying to cut it when it was trying to break 490, but I wasn't able to get out, especially with this one trading a spread. But I did get out at 480. It did get to 470, but it immediately turned around. Not in that people were buying it all the way back, and it finally turned around from 470 to this 515 level, but literally the level 2, the bid and the ask just lifted up, and then it had like some trades in the $5 range, which was really dumb. But I don't mind it, cutting losses there, because it could have continued the downtrend even more, especially how this thing has this crazy run up, like a pure pump and dump, and it could have crashed even harder, but it didn't, and that's fine. But I played it safe, and yeah, I'm gonna avoid these higher price OTCs, especially those that trade with a very wide spread. And I think that might be what I can add for my thing, on top of what I put here, which is just a reminder for me to hold setups that are playing out better, and just continue forward in that sense. Let's look at Dpolis. This was a late morning panic bounce play for the 2nd of March. This one's been my favorite stock recently. Right here, one more day, the 2nd. Nice uptrending day, nice volume, not a bad point to buy. A dip buy. And let's go ahead and see. I was in at 1251, 444. Let me zoom in a bit more. Right here, 1251, 444. I had a really killer entry right here. I wasn't there when it had this drop, right? But when I saw that this drop had its move here and it uptrended, and then it was starting the downtrend, and I thought, okay, if it breaks the day low off of this downtrend, this attempted bounce, maybe that's going to create even more volume and create more craziness. And I got in a really good point right here at 444. Very hard to lose money. And I was in it at this level, and my risk level would have been 44 breaking. If it were to have looked like it was going to break 44, if it were to have dropped to that level, ideally there's some people holding 44 and I can be able to get out then, but didn't happen. I had a horrible sell. Did not really trade this one well, but I was kind of scared because this was, something that just failed right here. And the other scary thing about it was that, it wasn't like an ideal morning panic bounce play. This was in the middle of the day, and they don't tend to work as well, but I should have drawn a trend line here, and I would have held this one so much better. If you go back to the video I posted on the 2nd, I go over this in detail, but I traded this one horribly. I got out at 1252, 46.1. Right here, 1252. Yeah, 1252, 46.1. Right here was my sell, and my entry was right here. My sell right here, and I could have drawn a trend line here, and I would have been able to have sold at a much higher price. If you go over the day, I could have easily have sold at 485, and I didn't trade enough size too. So, best case scenario, let's say 20,000 shares. Right, still under a $10 risk level, and the sell at 485, which is totally not 47.5, totally realistic. Right, $82. This was totally a realistic trade, totally something that I could have done. It's not like, oh, I sold at the very top. This was very realistic in that I could have drawn a trend line from here to here, and I would have sold when the trend line broke, and I would have been able to sell easily at 485. You can just watch the video again that I made that day, and it was super easy for me to do something like this. And then it did do an inverse head and shoulders. This was kind of hard to trade, especially because the volume dried up, but it did make a move from 48 to 49.5, and then it dropped towards this 48 level. Now it's support, not resistance, like it was here, and it did make a follow-up move towards VWAP, which is 51, so that was pretty cool. And yeah, definitely, this is one where I wouldn't have been able to sell at VWAP, but it did break the trend line, and I would have been able to have sold everything by then. But this is one that I severely traded horribly, and I need to get better. But I understand I was scared because I haven't really seen something like this play out as well recently, and it was later in the day, so I have to take that into consideration. But at this point now, if I see something similar, I hope I'm trading appropriate, at least a $10 risk level, and I sell based off of my strategy, which is a trend line breaking or VWAP, depending on how it's doing it. But let's look at ILUS for the first dip under VWAP, and all right, yeah, first dip under VWAP. Let's look at ILUS for the third. Third is right here. Very nice run up from this 10 to, it's basically a double to 21 cents. The third is right here. Very crazy looking day if you ask me. And I was in at 948.22. 948. Let me zoom in a bit more probably. Right here, 948 was when I was in right here at 22, as in 20 and then 2, not the number 22. That was my entry right here. Why? You know, I saw the nice run up from 19 to 21, and then it drops under VWAP for the first time right here. It holds, you know, at least it looks like it's trying to hold and, you know, continue to make a move as a first, you know, dip into something that can continue the uptrend. This one kind of played out. And again, I was in at right here, 22, I mean, at 948. And I got out 948, actually the same minute. Maybe, again, I've realized that on Fidelity, the exit time isn't really the exit time, but when I place the order, sometimes it takes longer to get filled. But let's just see. I was out at 25 at, in theory, 948, maybe. All right, that might have been true. I might have sold right here, which is VWAP. That's always my goal. You know, I had an uptrend immediately towards VWAP, and I sold into that. It did uptrend higher, but I didn't like how it just had like a low volume uptrend, and the level 2 lifted up. So I'll always sell into that. This one wasn't that bad. I just didn't trade my dollar risk level. In theory, here I should have been in 3,000 shares, right? That would have been a lot more meaningful. Definitely a lot of improvement, but if it's not that I didn't sell appropriately, I wasn't sized in enough, if not both, I definitely want to see if I can do better this week. Let's look at Dpolis for the 4th. All right, looks like this is when the candle, when this thing got cursed. Somebody, you know, or something happened, right? And it just had like a really weird move. Let's just say, I don't know, let's just maybe, I guess I can't really change it unless I add a 0 here. Trying to see if I can find a way to get this one to work again. Yeah, I don't know how to really fix that. But this thing was either not real or somebody just had a horrible execution. I don't know, let's just see if 60 works. Alright, that works. I guess it has to be. Let's see if that fixes it a little. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay, and I traded here on the 4th. This might not be totally accurate because, you know, I just put in a number to not make it look all weird, but let's go ahead and look at the 3rd, which is right here. VWAP is probably going to look totally, actually this was the 4th. VWAP is going to look totally off because of that weird print, but this one offered warning panic bounce plays, one right here, and then one right here, not too ideal. And then this one a little better because it had volume again, but I never traded this because I had to go to TD immediate trade here to look at the chart, so then I would never really see it when it's making a move because I had that ugly print. But let's look at the first setup, which was way back here. I was in at 936, and this was 59.2. Let me actually zoom in a bit more. Nah, maybe not. That's a little too ugly, but 936, 59.2. And why was I in it here? Because it just opened and was trading in a certain range, and at, you know, this point of the day, it looks like it was gonna maybe break out of the range. And then I've seen stuff like that, especially with DPLS earlier and ILUS, make a super nice move. CYBL was another example this same day. This one clearly did not work out, and I got out at 938, and I got out at 589. Right here, 589 was my exit right here. Just probably didn't like how it looked like it was topping and not looking nice. It did eventually downtrend later in the day drastically, so that's why you cut losses quickly. But this setup just did not work, which was fine. I mentioned here that I tried it with CYBL and I didn't get filled, and I was in this one, but it wasn't as nice, and yeah, it didn't work out. I cut losses quickly. In theory, I traded according to my $5 risk level, but I need to just trade at least $10. So I actually don't mind at this point if I lose, you know, more money, because I feel like at this point I can start trading larger, just because of the fact that, you know, if I also trade a larger size, I'm probably going to take the setup more seriously and sell better because of the fact that I have more money on the line. I'm not just, you know, trading just such small sizes. And then if I trade it nicely and I barely make anything because my size is small, I need to size up. Let's look at the fourth CYBL dip by reversal. This one did not work out, but I didn't lose anything. Let's look at CYBL for the fourth. The fourth is right here, and this one's also trying to make a move towards the upside. Pretty nice, especially because it's not a sub penny, but this one had the same thing I was thinking about with Dpolis, and it didn't work, but it was trading this tiny range right here over these 2 minutes, and when it broke the day high, it made a move from this 179 level all the way to 189, which is what is that? That's like 5%. You know, and obviously continued the uptrend, but that was the idea I had with Dpolis, but it didn't work there. I was in at 10.14 at 20, and I got out actually the next minute at the same price. So this was the idea. It had an uptrend here, and then it downtrended. Ideally, it would have been under VWAP, which it ended up doing, making a move under VWAP and then reversing, as you can see here, putting up higher lows for the time that it did. But you know, it was trying to turn around here, so I thought, all right, I'll take it, but I didn't trade a large position for that reason, and I guess that worked in this case, but I still need to size up. And yeah, let's just see, 10.14 I was in right here at 20, and I liked it, right? It was looking nice, but then I hated how in 10.15 the price action looked ugly. People were just dumping their shares. You know, I think I actually might have been in at 10.15, and I placed my order at 10.14, but I didn't get filled till later at 20. And then there was such a nice wall of people supporting 20 at the bid, but then people were just dumping their shares into that. And I thought, all right, this thing might have more room to downtrend, and that's exactly what happened. So I'm glad I, you know, listened to my gut in that sense, and the price action really, that it was just looking like it might try to downtrend even more from this run up before it turns around, which was ultimately here. But you can see how ugly it traded under VWAP. I was never in it for that reason, but in theory, maybe in at 195, and it did get as high as 20. So I guess not even the best range, but it could have been much worse. It did offer this nice move here, which I traded, I believe, but I also did that one horribly. So yeah, this was a completely break-even trade. Not a bad attempt for what it was. Let's look at CYBL for the fourth again. And this was a late morning panic bounce play, so I'll just call it a, you know, a panic bounce play. I was in at 12.09 at 176. Yeah, I traded this one, 176. I was in right here. You know, you can probably draw a trend line and see where it was starting to break it, and I got in at 176, risking this 1.7 level. You know, if it were to have dropped and gotten to this 1.7 level, you know, it looks like it's going to break under it. I'll get out in theory before it does. You know, at that point, it would be pretty ugly if I'm in right here and it goes all the way back to the day low. And I was out 12.11 at 18. 12.11 was right here at 18. I got out right here, and I was in right here, got out right here. Horrible sell. I didn't respect a trend line. I didn't, you know, do any of those things. And this one did get to VWAP, but it did run out of volume, I'll say that. But I could have drawn a trend line. I would have had a really, you know, a really nice exit, a lot better of an exit. In fact, let me do it off of this before it even happens, right? Let's say I'm in again 12.09 right here. It's not as nice on TD immediate trade, but you know, let's just say, okay, I'm in right here and then right here. What I could have done, which I didn't do until later when I was out, do a trend line. I can do it off of this one, or if I want to give it some leeway, off of this one. But let's just be tight and do it off of this bottom little wick right here. Right there. Can we extend it to the right? Yep. Now let's see when in theory I should get out of the trade. Just to show that this is in hindsight 2020. This is before it started to really uptrend, right? And let me go back to my regular mouse. Again, I'm in at 1209 at 176. Right here, 176, okay? And I'm doing a trend line right here, right? Let's see when I would have to cut it. Maybe right here at 185, right? Because it broke under the trend line here, and here was definitely below it. Worst case, I'm out at 185, and it did continue the uptrend, right? And then I would have, if I somehow still held out, I totally would have been out at 189, just because it broke under this trend line, and VWAP was right here at 195. Now I did make a move later, right? But I'm not gonna play games with this low volume stuff. It could have like a big red candle and end up right here where I was entered, you know, at 175 with such low volume. So easily could have sold off of this one and this one right here. You know, could have, and it did downtrend a little here, but it wasn't like, you know, horrible. It didn't close under the trend line. It would have been out right here, you know, when it pierced under it. If not, especially here at 185, which would be higher than my, you know, exit. And again, that's with me horribly selling the next minute at 1211, right here, not really giving it a chance for it to uptrend. Let's see what a sell at 185 would have been. That would have been a 5% gain. Again, undersized, at least a $10 risk level, so 15,000 shares would have been better, and I would have made $13. That's what I need to do. I need to sell better off of a trend line in that case, or VWAP, and I need to trade at least a $10 risk level. If I lose next week, 20, 50, even like 200 bucks. You know, as long as I was trading according to the plan, I think that's totally fine. I need to get a lot better. I need to sell a lot better, and I need to trade larger. I think that really summarizes it. I have a long way to go. At least I know where I have to go. And I hope I don't do anything dumb where, you know, I have all these freaking day trades and I make 10 bucks. You know, if I at least traded appropriate size and, you know, I sold nicely on most of the setups and cut well on most of the setups, if not all of those. And I only make 10 bucks or maybe lose 10 bucks or, you know, 20 or lose 200, whatever. I think that's totally fine. I see a lot of room for opportunity and I just have to get better. That's all I have for today.